Be strong.
Welcome in, roster the people, week 2, Neil Smith, Jason Draven, probably a special guest coming on a little bit later here, but we'll keep that a secret in the background. And as we move in, let's just get right into it. We've got Thursday night questions and we've got 15 minutes to get through them. So, right out of the gate, Skylar, welcome back, Skylar. Pleasure as always. Addison or McLaurin, full PPR.
I don't like either of them. I'm going to go Addison here because I'm worried about McLaurin seeing the Surtain matchup, and Hal throwing it makes me a little nervous still. So,
and I'd probably prefer. Usually the answer is whoever's not playing on Thursday night. That's usually the answer to this question.
Kirk in primetime is also something that's been making me nervous. So,
well, it's more the McLaurin turf toe situation. It's really close. I'm gonna give it to McLaurin by a nose. The Thursday night thing is the split. That's really what it comes down to. I just don't want to deal with playing players on Thursday night. It's too close for me to. If it was a little more definitive, I would go the other way because I think Addison probably has the better matchup per se. But I really don't want to play the guy going on the short week, and we know how these Thursday night games go historically. They're just low scoring, they're crappy, and then you're dealing with the Eagles defense. Prefer not to deal with that either. Bud Austin. Bud, I don't recognize the name, actually. That's a new one. There you go. That's a fun one.
Absolutely hate it. I have to go Swift just because, again, Arthur Smith, man, is just the worst person for any young talent in the world. So
you could have just stopped at the worst person. But fight me. Fight me. I'll take on all comers. Boy, do not like this. I get why you're asking this question because I would be asking this as well. I got to give it to boy. It's funny. I have in my flex rankings, I have them like 6 spots apart, which really isn't much of a difference. You know what I mean? I'm gonna go London based on. I'd rather play the wide receiver in PPR, typically, and then also.
We don't know who the running back's going to be.
Thursday night, and Rashad Penny's not going to be a healthy scratch. So I'm going to go with London. I hate your choices, and I'm sorry, bud. This is not a decision I'd want to make.
All right. However, if you haven't already watched the Waiver Wire show, there might be some options there. And for just kind of throwing it out there, Josh Reynolds is probably a really good play for you. And he's probably widely available. I would check that too. I'd play him over both of them.
I don't know if I would do that. But I do get the general logic. I get the general logic behind it. I don't think I could bring myself to do it, but
don't think him versus Seattle's going to just at home.
If I have to scroll this far in my rankings,
the hate from Josh Reynolds is just rude.
I think I could do it.
I feel like it's every year.
I like Reynolds more than most people, but I don't think I could do it given where we are. I think I'm going to stick with my guns here and just hold my nose and put London in the lineup and then roll the dice on it. But I like I said, I get the general logic. If you just want to punt this problem and you're willing to do it, Reynolds would be an available option to you. It would be a good choice. There's a few people like that, but we'll get into that a little bit later. If you don't want to start either one of them, stick around as we keep going through the show because we'll have several different people that you could probably pick up. So if you want to hang out, bud, we'll have some more. But we got to keep moving. Dakota, Madison or Pierce? Straight running back question.
Madison.
Yeah, I hate it.
Makes you feel
I absolutely hate it. But actually, you know what? I'm gonna go with Pierce. It's super close. It's super duper close, but I really don't want to play Madison on a Thursday night going up against the strong Eagles front seven. So I'm gonna go ahead and roll with Pierce and avoid the problem. Yeah, yeah.
I'm glad you realize it. Or just
Boy, okay. If you if you want to punt it to that direction, stand by.
I would probably, because I think Cooper is still kind of dealing with an injury, would be moving toward more here. I'm just, like I said, Addison has an ideal matchup in an ideal world, but man, the Eagles has a good defense, and I am nervous that Cousins in primetime always just is something I can't bring myself to do. Been burned way too many times for that to happen. So
I would eliminate more. I'm not going to play more. One decent week of production is not enough for me to throw away my entire off season of the mystery box. I would go ahead and, if it was up to me, I would go ahead and probably roll with Addison out of that lineup, as much as I don't want to. I technically have him and London within one spot of each other. They're right next to each other in my rankings. But how the mighty have fallen as it relates to London is more the takeaway with that. That's unfortunate.
again, it's because of Bichon and the lovely Arthur Smith.
It's that, and it's also because normally I'd probably be more confident in Addison. If we were talking about Addison playing on Thursday, I would probably just tell you to play Addison. Or I'm sorry, on Sunday. I would probably just tell you just play Addison and just deal with it. But I'm going to go ahead and stick with London, or wait for us to give you waiver wire options if you want to go through that in the background. But if you got to make a decision here in the next 8 minutes, I'm going to just play Addison out of that lovely list of folks that you kind of gave us in the background. All right. Skylar, Swift, Gabe Davis, Rashid Shaheed, or McLaurin? Full PPR.
Davis.
Yes.
Just because, again, I don't trust them to throw Swift and have him be the main guy after what I saw last week.
McLaurin, if I needed points and I needed something sane, if I thought I was going to lose and I'm projected to get blown out, put Shaheed in there. If you think you're going to lose by like 30 points and it doesn't matter, just put Shaheed in there and go crazy. That's what I would do in the background. What's the status of Gary Noah?
Well, it's looking like Travis Kelce is going to try and go out this week. So looks like he's going to be relegated to the background of Noah Gray this week. Definitely into the gray.
Related question. Start Kelce, wait another week. It's easy. If Kelce's playing, you're playing Kelce. It's not complicated.
Gotcha.
Don't overcomplicate this.
Especially against the Jaguars.
A couple more Thursday night ones. Bobby Mason. Cousins tonight or Fields? Fields. Easy.
Yeah, agree. Rushing floor's there. Got to take it.
I know it looked bad. The Bears should be embarrassed. Not just for a litany of reasons. There's so many reasons why the Bears should be embarrassed. And then, but you got to roll with Fields and just hope it gets a little bit better. I don't want to play Cousins on a Thursday night in prime time. Doesn't historically go very well. I believe that is all the Thursday night questions for now. Yes. So we will go back to Skylar. Zay Flowers or Zay Jones? Which Zay? Pick a Zay.
It's the Jones for me. Again, think that's going to be a fun game to watch. So he saw decent usage last week, and I wouldn't expect that to change against the Chiefs this week. I'm going to
go with Flowers.
Even with Andrews potentially back?
Yeah, I'm going to roll with Flowers and kind of see if lightning strikes twice. That's what I'm going to do. He he's kind of winning me over in the background. I think the big loser here might
Quentin
actually.
Johnston in the
We were
Chargers.
talking about who would have to win. Somebody's going to win out of the Baltimore wide receivers. They're going to win in the dog pile because all three of them aren't going to have value. I think the big loser immediately is Bateman because my word, like even in a week where Andrews didn't play, he was just relegated to nothing. And then Odell is now my age, which is a problem. Hurt again with the ankle, which is a bigger problem. And now Andrews is coming back. So I think if I'm eliminating wide receivers, those are the losers. And then I don't think, even if Andrews is coming back, I don't think that's enough just to crater out Zay Flowers, who was looking fast and crisp in and out of the breaks, and mostly Lamar was looking for him. So it's and then what also is starting to win me over is the idea that they are going to throw more, and now even more so because J.K. Dobbins couldn't even get through one full game and then immediately hurt himself again and is now back to the IR. And what a career! What a career for J.K. Dobbins so far. But yeah, hold out for that contract. We'll see. We'll see how that works for you. Anyway, I'm done editorializing. At least for now. We might continue editorializing later.
Might get back.
It's what I do. Garrett Wilson, McLaurin, Miles Sanders,
Wilson.
Yeah, Wilson. Don't you're gonna have to do more than he was effective last year with Wilson being terrible.
Yeah, again, it's more. I think it's more of the matchup, but I can't remember now who the Jets were playing. Oh, the Cowboys. That's the only reason that you're kind of nervous about it. But he should still hopefully get some garbage time.
I'm trying to make sure we don't get any
Cowboys
more,
are 9-point favorites.
Hello, Polo.
Hey, Polo.
Pleasure as always. Good to see you. Have or start is a different question. I'm going to read the question as written, Tony. So if you want to amend that, go ahead. Would I rather have Zay Jones or Elijah Moore? I'd rather have Zay Jones.
I think I'm doing both. Rather have and start Zay Jones this week.
Yeah, you know what? I actually would do the same thing. Have and start. So it is in this case the same answer. Oh my God, he's back. Like Gomez is back.
He's made it.
Jose, I know it's been a year and you're a little rusty. What are your other options, sir? You've got to give us context because I'm going to just tell you no on its face, and then if you give me other options, I'll amend that potentially. But the answer is as it is no.
He did see decent usage though in that first game. It was pretty impressive. Dropped him. Yeah.
I prefer right. It is admittedly close, Tony. So I do get the question. It's pretty close. Would I rather have Zay or the mystery box? And I'm going to go ahead and ride out with Zay on what I think is a better passing offense.
Here's an update for you. Puka Nacua did not practice today due to an oblique injury.
We'll get to that at some point, but yes, that hasn't come up yet. We were going to get there.
It just popped up. I was like, oh, interesting.
Stevenson, Cook, A-Chain, Sean Tucker. Okay. All right.
Definitely playing.
So really your question is Elijah Moore really is the new Sammy Watkins. It is the mystery box. All right. So you have really so the question is you're starting Cook or A-Chain? These are my choices.
Yes, that would
this
be
is
my
that
guess.
Weird league he plays in where there's roster limits. I remember this conversation from last year.
Correct.
If he's still playing in that league, I'm.
That's on him.
That is on him for continuing to do this.
We could have put you in a different one.
If my choices are Cook or A-Chain,
who does the Dolphins play?
It's gonna be Cook, and I hate it. Yeah, see, it's like I'm psychic. It's like I'm psychic, isn't it? I'm gonna go with Cook if those are my straight two choices, mostly because I remember how your league works. Polo has a question here, real quick. Ooh, that's an interesting one.
It's pretty.
Zay Jones or Nico Collins? It's a legitimate question.
Yeah, they're real close. I guess
that's a legitimate question.
Could actually pull up my rankings. I should have done that initially, huh?
Yeah, probably. I have mine up, but boy.
I feel like I have
That's a
Jones
legitimate
higher
one.
because I think that game has a higher over under.
I have them literally 3 spots in my wide receiver rankings. I'm going to go ahead and say I'm going to take Nico Collins against Indy in a game that I think just devolves into an utter bleep show. Like, it's going to be a disaster. That game's going to be ugly. I wouldn't want to watch it, but I'm going to go with Nico Collins based on volume and based on the idea that game I think is just going to be a disaster. I've got him slightly higher in my rankings this week. Taking a long time. Got more questions.
Oh, I have. Okay. Yeah, it looks like it's going to be Collins for me.
All right, so Collins, sweep it. We're going to do that.
Didn't even have to scroll.
Right. Here we go. Njoku, Musgrave, or Hurst? That's interesting.
Probably
legitimately interesting.
I'm going Hurst still, just because hopefully DJ's back to help with that offense, but it looked rough. It's still going to be rough, and he saw him the most. He looked for him the most, shockingly.
Well, they all need it. The one I eliminate from that is Musgrave.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm eliminating that because in Njoku, look, you got to throw out some of that week 1 with the Browns stuff. They were playing in a hurricane, for God's sake. Like, that's part of it, and then they look terrible. I acknowledge that, but on paper, he's the best tight end. So I have Njoku higher in my rankings. If you're terrified of the Browns offense and you want nothing to do with it, I go with Hurst because I feel like I know what I'm getting. I feel like I know what I'm getting with it. It's just a question of who's most likely to fall into the end zone. Historically, that would be Njoku. Limited sample size would be Hurst from last week. Musgrave, you're going to have to do what he did a couple more weeks in a row before I'm really willing to entertain that. He had a good week 1. I'll give him that much, but I'm not willing
also with Watson back.
Yeah, I'm not. Theoretically, we don't.
He's
know
not back. I don't think he's back this week, but I do think
we don't know. Yeah, we don't know about that either because I don't think he's playing this week. I don't even think he's playing this week, really. I'd say the two that I'm probably starting Njoku. If I was terrified of the Browns offense for some reason and really didn't want to deal with it, my backup plan would be Hurst. All right. Here, William Taylor. It's an interesting question here. Stash and takeover. Bigsby, Roshan, Spears, Tucker in a no point league. A classic fantasy football league.
But these are all more PPR. Of them, I'm probably going to go with the guy who has the oldest running back in front of him, and that's going to be Spears.
Spears is the one who was the most involved in week 1. He would manage to grab a decent snap share, and they really like him. If this is a redraft league, which I'm assuming it is, Spears is probably the most interesting one because Spears is here for a good time, not a long time, with his no ACLs in either leg. I would say it's either Roshan or Spears. If it was a PPR league, I would say take Roshan, but since it's technically a standard, what used to be considered a standard league, I'm going to go with Spears as well. Okay. That, at the moment, is the most current question. So,
wow.
In the background, as we wait for the game is just getting kicked off here in the background. So your Thursday night questions have all been addressed. Everybody's taken care of. Who's here?
Eagles already scored with a field goal.
Oh, that's not a Jalen Hurts 50-yard touchdown bomb to AJ Brown.
Nope. Devontae Smith actually got it for 54.
Oh, well, that doesn't help me at all. Well, I guess it does. Anyway, no one cares about what my particular needs are. All right, get another one here real quick. Should you pick up Spears, drop A-Chain, or Sean Tucker?
I would over Tucker for sure.
I would probably do it over Tucker as well. The only reason I'm holding Tucker is if I actually have Rashad White.
Yeah. I don't
which I'm
think
assuming
either
this
of
is
them.
that same team.
Yeah, I don't think either of them have actual long-term value, but
I would pick up Spears and drop Sean Tucker, assuming that you're not rostering Rashad White in that scenario. Because that's really why I would want Tucker in that case. But yeah, Spears has more value if they're just standalone objects. Spears has more value. Jason, well, some more questions rolling. Why don't you do your quarterback start of the week?
okay, I guess I can do that. Let's see. It's actually not. Well, shouldn't be surprising. With Justin Herbert last week, just doing solid and not really throwing the ball. They wanted to have a balanced attack. I'm going with Mac Jones this week versus Miami.
Ew.
Yep. Feels dirty, doesn't it? But I think he's going to have to throw. I think
You're the only one who feels dirty. I'm not. I refuse to co-sign this at all. Like, a terrible idea. Genuinely a terrible idea.
I'm not scared of the Miami defense. Clearly, they were able to score fairly easily until the very last drive when they actually needed to move the ball. And the Chargers did what they always do in Charger. So I do think Mac Jones actually made smart plays, looks for the right guys, and not surprised if they have a lot of success against Miami this week. Hey, guess what though? My QB sit of the week is the same guy as last week, Joe Burrow versus Baltimore. The potential rain makes me nervous. Joe Burrow still just not looking super mobile also had me nervous, and the lack of a running game was terrifying. I don't think that helped the game at all, and the quote unquote targets to Higgins that were just ugly. He only had 2 that were actually close, and I do think it can turn around, but again, it's supposed to rain. Don't love that. So I feel like I've broken Neil's brain.
I just stopped listening because that was just a wall of crazy. I mean, if you're asking my opinion here at any level, folks at home for the game, you have to pick somebody outside the top 12 for them to be a start. And if I was looking for a start, of the week, it would be. I have a couple actually here that are kind of interesting, but I would probably settle on. Yeah, it would. I'm gonna hold my nose and do it. It would be Derek Carr on Monday night, which is disgusting, playing against Carolina. He's not going to blow the roof off your doors, to use a dated expression, but he's going to get you a nice solid point floor. They're going to have to throw. They've got their weapons. And I did like how he was willing to spread the ball around, but also take some deep shots, and one of them paid off to Rashid Shaheed. Really think that could happen here again, because the strength of the Panthers is their front seven, not their back end. They have a weak back end, and Rashid Shaheed is like a cartoon character. Nobody's that fast. Like, it's unbelievable how fast that man actually is. I was going to say this is actually probably more a bigger issue is their O-line is just god awful. And we talked about this in 32 teams in 32 days. They never solved this problem. They lost O-line after last season and made no meaningful moves to fix it. They're rotating guys around trying to figure out what they're going to do. And that's always what you want to hear with when you're dealing with a young franchise quarterback that you've just now paid a ton of money is let's have a bad O-line. Yeah, it's great. It's also what you want to do with a guy who's not particularly mobile. Ask Aaron Rodgers about what it's like to have a bad O-line when you can't run fast. Yeah, I went there. No, what was actually going on is I noticed something interesting. With Kenny Gainwell out, DeAndre Swift started every play so far. He's 8 for 8. So it just tells you everything you need to know about Rashad Penny right there, doesn't it? Just tells you everything you need to know. DeAndre Swift was completely useless in week 1 when Kenny Gainwell was actually healthy. And then the minute Kenny Gainwell's not playing, they just go, all right, DeAndre, just get out there. Tells you everything you got to know about Rashad Penny.
But
one handy little stat.
1 carry for 1 yard.
He's on the field.
I know.
I'm not talking about that as it relates to Swift. I'm
Part
just
of it's
saying,
just being out there. Yeah. I
it
get
just
it.
kills Rashad Penny entirely. Like that's exactly what you want to hear. So yeah, mine was Derek Carr, and then if I had
I
to
mean,
bench somebody on the
Watson and Purdy were also on my list outside of Carr.
yeah, they're on the list. If I had to pick somebody that was in the actual like top 12, it's actually tough this week.
It's
It
tough
it
every
is
week. That's
it is it is legitimately tough. Uh, it is legitimately tough, but for me, it's actually fairly straightforward. It'd be Daniel Jones. It'd be Daniel Jones. Just bench Daniel Jones. Like there's no
after last week. Yes.
after last week, I don't see how you could possibly go back to that well. If there was anybody on that list that was in the top 12, it's like, dude, no. Like, I want this proved to me at some point again. We're back at that point with Daniel Jones where it's like, no. Because if you waited on and he was your starter, you probably have a quality backup option. Probably be looking at using that backup option this week and for a
Anthony
little
Richardson being probably an option that I
while. Whatever. Sure, I'll take that.
against
I'd
Houston.
be
Yeah, I'll take that all day.
snap, step back, sick guy. It's almost like bad O line is the theme for this year. The Vikings also have a terrible O line.
Still managed to get it to Jefferson twice already, though. Let's go.
Yeah, well, he does that. You know. Yep. That checks out, Polo. That does check out. That absolutely checks out in the background there.
I know. I had to share it on the Discord, man. If Philip Rivers, baby, if you're looking for an old quarterback to run the system, that guy will get it done for you.
Why do you want them to tear Philip Rivers' Achilles?
He's
slower than Aaron Rodgers.
He doesn't need to run. He'll actually just
really,
take the hit. Yeah,
really.
He doesn't need
really.
to run.
Oh, that's a fun theory. Would he not need to run for his life? Okay.
No, he'd just get rid of it.
Yeah.
He'd hit somebody in the back.
No, he'd hit the turf is what he'd hit. Like the only thing he'd be hitting is the ground hard. Like, and his old 41-year-old man bones are not going to take that shot. No amount of praying to Jesus is going to prevent that either, by the way. Like, that's not going to happen. You should pray to Jesus for an O-line is what you should do. Pray to Jesus Mekhi Becton learns how to block if you're going to pray for something. I could keep going. I have so many more of these. Like, I could do this for an hour. Polo, I like that idea because Jameis is actually somewhat mobile. He's not what I'd call fast, but he can at least run to extend the play. And at least he can throw it within the vicinity of Garrett Wilson. That's all you need to do. Put it within 10 feet of Garrett Wilson and let him try to do something with it. Like, I'd be fine with Jameis gunslinging it around. Yeah, he'll throw 40 picks, but he'll also throw 40 touchdowns. It's the old 40-40 rule. It's beautiful. It's what I love. What are your realistic options? You want David Blau? Like 41-year-old Philip Rivers is not the answer to anything other than who's next in line at the prostate exam. Like that's really what that is, man. Like, stop it with the whole Philip Rivers can still play football narrative. We saw that try to get done in Indianapolis. It was horrible. If you're talking about kicking the tires on Carson Wentz, you are screwed. That's the other thing that I know about that. You are completely effed. If you're talking about you got to go call the Carson Wentz you're completely done. Like, my God. I'm glad Polo's here. He laughs at my stupid jokes. But yeah, like the only thing Philip Rivers should be quarterbacking is the youth ministry that I'm sure he volunteers at on the weekends. Quarterback that, Phil. Like, that's more your speed these days.
Thought for sure there was going to be an OBGYN joke somewhere in there, but
there could be. You want me to keep digging? Like, I already feel like I'm going to get us kicked off YouTube here. I'm working my way there. Like,
sorry.
Oh, God.
He's on the other side of the curtain just waiting. Oh.
Snap it! Snap it!
Oh, we're dumb. I'm sorry. Anybody has to.
There's no one here. They've all left to go watch Thursday Night Football. They got their questions answered and they all left. That's it. It's that simple. It's me, you, Polo said, and Steve. That's who's here. There's
Uh, oh,
Let's go, honey. I got stuff to do. Got that backpacking trip with the Eagle Scouts later today, for God's sake. Like, we don't have all day.
oh.
Do you think he gets like a punch card? Like, like he's got like
A discount?
no, I mean like yeah, he's got like the like you get it like the sandwich shop where you get like you do 12, you get the 13th one free or whatever. Like I imagine they just gave him one of those punch cards at some point. But yeah, like I guarantee you, he's doing like he's literally like counting off the cadence, like 42, 42 is the mic. That's absolutely what's happening. I'm more laughing at this too. They don't even. Rashad Penny's so dead he can't even get in front of Boston Scott. Swift goes and sits down. Boston Scott comes in. I love it. I love everything about it. I love it. We've gone so far off the rails. It is unbelievable how far off the rails this has already gone. All right. Well, lovely. It's almost like the Vikings are a really overrated football team. Okay.
Good fantasy options, though.
Yeah. Well, mostly one. Mostly Jefferson, and then
Addison's going to be a thing. He will be a thing this year. Now, Madison, I'm still
not going to play the Eagles.
Not 100% on it.
I tell you what. Let's do running back here. What's your running back start of the week?
Well, unfortunately, you took his quarterback, so Jamal Williams versus the front seven of the Panthers. I had to do it, man. Just think the volume's there, and he's going to fall into the end zone.
My God!
The fact that the Panthers are just
brutal.
I know, but it's still another tough matchup. That's part of the reason I was so nervous about even starting him. But again, I do think that he falls into the end zone. I think this is a big team that has a lot of weapons. So hopefully when they'll get close, somebody will get tackled at the one. He'll be able to punch it in. He'll be fine. It's really what you're hoping for. Let's be honest. He is also the only one who's fully healthy. Miller is coming back this week, but potentially he at least had logged a limited practice today. I still think Williams has his job though. So
yeah, that's fine. For me, it's actually Brian Robinson. Brian Robinson managed to just relegate Antonio Gibson in one game. He was stealing second down work, third down work, passing down work. And it seems like the days of, this is going to be a 50-50 split. Boy, that theory's going out the window so hard. And it looks like this might just be Brian Robinson closer to 65%. And if that's the case, then Brian Robinson's an RB2. On a team that likes to run the ball, that doesn't have their O-line's not great, but it ain't that bad. Yeah. And that's going to be the one that very soon I won't be able to take this cheap little cop out because I think he's going to be inside the top 24. But yeah, Brian Robinson in a game against Denver that projects to be pretty low scoring, two bad offenses. He's the player that I'd be most excited about if I had to start a commander on offense. How about sit? Who's your sit of the week?
Dameon Pierce versus Indy. Just because, again, I can't bring myself to trust him, man. It's rough out there, and I just don't see them being able to run the ball when they're trying to at least have somewhat of a game against the Colts.
That is fair. That is fair. I mean, I can't really debate that.
And just switch back. Houston is now a point favorite in that game with an over-under of 39. It started out as the Colts and has gone to the Texans.
For me, it's going to be I've got a couple that I could actually go with here because boy, does it get super ugly after about RB 15. Pretty much anybody from like 16 to 24, I could make the argument for why you should sit them. I would have actually
the easy option is Jones.
Well, Which Jones? Wait,
Aaron.
hold on. Oh, well, that doesn't count. I can't. That's too much cop out because I don't think he's going to play.
Correct.
The one that I was going to go with would be, and how sucky do I think AJ Dillon is if there's a week where Jones isn't going to play, and I still won't recommend starting AJ Dillon because he's just 2.4 yards at a carry and a pile of suck. The one I was going to go with would actually be Alexander Madison, but that's a cop out because he's actually playing right now. That's who I would have told you if we were doing this at the top of the show. So I can't go with that. But fear not, I have a more legitimate. It's Najee Harris. This has been a concern all offseason was what do you do with the disaster that is the Najee Harris experience right now? Because Jaylen Warren is coming in and just taking his lunch right off his plate and eating it in front of him. And to be honest, that doesn't necessarily mean I want to start Jaylen Warren because he's not getting enough of the sandwich to actually matter in his own right. It's just relegating them both, which is super fun. Gotta love that. And it's Mike Tomlin. So Mike Tomlin don't care. He only cares about winning football games, and he'll tell you that straight to your face as his eyes just get progressively more and more open. I've never seen anything like it in my entire life. That man's eyes just keep getting more open as he talks to you. He starts off like this, and then by the end of the press conference, it looks like this. And I'm like, oh my God, dude, calm down. Like, it's not that serious. Like, staring into my soul. He just also seems genuinely annoyed to be at that press conference, which I find endearing because I would be annoyed by that too.
Especially after losing. Like, it's just like,
yeah. Well, not only losing, but getting pantsed. Like, getting embarrassed. Thank you, Polo, for the update. That really actually upsets me in a meaningful, palpable way. I appreciate the updates, though. Our own Polo said does a better job than Adam Schefter. Absolutely, but 100% Jaylen Warren's a good stash.
Depends on who else is there, though. I mean, he's solid, but
as far as stashes go, it's up there, man. Like he's already managed to snake out about 40% of the work. If something was to happen to Najee Harris, then he'd be in line for like 80% of the job because he'd be competing with Anthony McFarland, who that's not competing. That's not a thing. Like that's a guy. Yep. This is all facts. Steve and I have been talking about this all offseason that the Giants are massively overrated. I know Aiden's not here tonight. I'm glad because he'd be coming off talking about Saquon Barkley. Saquon Barkley aside, it's the Giants are massively overrated. That's why I'm saying there's no Giant that I feel like is a must start that's not named Saquon Barkley. Everything else is debatable. You can feel free to not start any Giant until something changes. They got to figure out something in the background. But back to this. Jaylen Warren already with 40-something% of the job is my reading is hard as I have to frequently tell people. He's my RB 44. And that's playing behind Najee Harris. He's a borderline flex running back with only like 40% of the job. So other stashes that you could have that are in that vein. Would you rather have him or Roshan?
Warren.
Yeah. Would you rather have Roshan, or I'm sorry, would you rather have Warren or Justice Hill?
I don't trust the running game of the Ravens. I didn't want Dobbins. So
right.
Yeah, Warren.
So, okay. So
I'm thinking more like Tajay Spear.
No,
like, that
that's
would
not
be the
even
one.
comparable. Tajay Spears is like
why?
Well, actually, you know what? It is somewhat comparable. I can't read. I already admitted to you I can't read. Like
I know that's why I was bringing it up. I'm genuinely curious.
I have Warren 5 spots ahead of Spears.
Okay.
You know what? You know who would be a good person to
Charbonnet
to ask this question is I'm waffling slightly because I'm hoping he can get his audio and camera on. I have a guy that would be good to. There we go. You know who wants to answer this question?
The guy
you know who would be good to answer this question? This exact question that's on this screen right now. Calling in from the gym. Our own Chris Salazar from the Dynasty team here at Important Nonsense would be the perfect person to ask this question.
How we doing, guys?
Hey.
Doing well. Doing well.
Doing well. The question is the one on the thing, right? Is Warren?
Yeah.
It's
a good
on the
stash?
screen. Yeah.
Oh
Is,
yeah.
yeah.
If Warren is on the waivers and anything more than like a even 10-man, maybe 12-man and up, Warren should be on a team already. He probably should have been drafted in the final rounds of the draft. Warren, especially towards the end of last year, even during most of last year, he was kind of creeping into Najee's production, and something's happened with Najee Harris. I don't really know if it's not an injury, but maybe he just wasn't really all that explosive at Alabama. He was just kind of one of those guys who could hurdle people, and I don't know, maybe he didn't always seem like that fast to me, and that guy who could do like the breakout thing to me. Maybe I'm just being crazy here and misremembering. I know he was good out of the backfield guy and whatnot, but Warren just seems to have another level of explosiveness that Harris has just kind of lost. Maybe his rookie year he was a little bit better, but Warren should be on a team if you're in a 12-plus league already. Dynasty, keeper, just redraft, whatever.
He's in a 10-team league.
In a 10-team league, I mean, if you have Najee Harris, then that would be a good. I mean, that would even be a good backup.
Well, that's not even a stash. That's a handcuff.
Yeah, that's a handcuff. Yeah, sorry, I forgot the lingo. But yeah, depending on how deep the benches are too, because there's some leagues that I have that I think I'm in one 10-man league that has a really short bench. So Warren may be kind of lingering on the waiver wire, maybe. But even then, in a 10-man, I would probably put him at the end of the bench if you're a guy, especially if you have like something that I like to do, and I always thought that I was like unique, and then I realized that everybody else does. Is if I have a really good quarterback.
Unique. Nobody's unique, Chris. Nobody's unique at all. Like,
I do the thing where if I have a pretty like top 8 to 10 quarterback, I'll like not even have another quarterback on my bench, and I'll just put another guy. So that would be a good thing where like Jalen Warren would come in, where you could kind of stash him if you have a solid quarterback.
I'll play this little game with you. Who's the worst player on your team? Post it. No, not you. But I'm talking to Bud directly. He's listening.
Oh,
I can see him.
Bud's actually here.
Bud's here. Like, he's listening to this. So,
yeah, one of my 12 teams.
But
who's
the worst player on your team? And I'll tell you, I think you should cut him for Jalen Warren. Who's your? Doesn't even need to be your worst running back. Who's the worst player on your team?
So, while we have him here,
hold on.
What do you think about? Oh, go ahead.
Minnesota fumbles on the first play. And then the Eagles shank a 55-yarder. You're all caught up. There you go. Go ahead, Jason. Go ahead. Do your thing.
All right. Would you prefer Warren or Spears? Tajay.
I would probably prefer. I would say Warren. Warren right now.
Okay.
Right now because Derrick Henry's going to get a pretty big workload. He's been injured a little bit, but Derrick Henry's thing is if he gets injured, you're not really worried about Derrick Henry's play falling off. Harris is more of like Warren is looking a lot better than him. And I forgot who they had last year, the Titans. They had the one running back. I think he was in the wore like a number 40
Haskins.
or something. Yeah. No, besides Haskins, it was the faster guy. It might have been Darren Evans, the Evans dude or something like that.
Darrington Evans, yeah.
Darrington Evans. Yeah, that guy. He caught like 2 touchdown passes in the first game last year. So there's a role for like that speedy backup for Derrick Henry. It's just a matter of, is Derrick Henry on that?
They've been trying to make that a thing since Deion Lewis 100 years ago. Like, it's different regimes, obviously, but the idea remains the same. It never works. Derrick Henry just continues to put those people down. But that's why I'm saying, like, Spears would be more what I'm interested in if I already had Derrick Henry and was concerned about it. Whereas Warren, I think, could be rostered in his own right. And if something was to happen to Najee Harris, he'd be up to about a 70% workload at that point, and he'd be only competing against Anthony Richardson. So that's kind of where I'd like split it. I have him about 5 spots higher in my rankings. Chris, where are you taking us?
Oh, sorry. I forgot I had the camera on. I'm closing down the gym, and then I'm walking home. So, yeah, that's why.
Oh, this is going to be great. Leave the camera on. This is awesome. Like, I'm fine with this. Like,
I know, yeah. I'm walking out right now, so if it's a little bit dark, my bad. There we go. You get a little ding. All right, door's locked. We're all good. All right.
Okay, this changes my answer. If you have Henry as your RB1, then you want Spears because you need to have the handcuff to Spears. You need to get that done. So I would do that. If you're saying your worst player is Elijah Moore, how bad do you want the handcuff?
Yeah.
And how deep is your wide receivers? That's another thing.
Yeah,
like I I just dropped Mac Jones for like Tutu Atwell because I'm like, well, Puka Nacua is like kind of on the injury report right now. So I have Joe Burrow as my starting quarterback. I add that extra receiver, but do I really need him? Do I not need him? I drop my top 3 receivers in that league are Chris Olave, Justin Jefferson, and A.J. Brown. So if I need to drop that guy to get a guy like Jalen Warren, that's an easy yes.
Yeah. And I'm not a big Elijah Moore guy, as we know. So I'd be probably okay with the idea that I'd rather have my handcuff. Think about it this way. If I'm not starting Elijah Moore, and realistically I see no reason why I would need to be in the immediate term, if something was to happen to Henry, you're going to have to either blow like your entire fab budget for the year to get Spears, or you're going to have to try and work out some sort of trade where you're going to get raked over the coals aggressively. Here we go. This is more relevant. Cup, Ridley, London, Addison, Moore.
Yeah, I'd probably keep Moore because
you might need more.
Yeah, Cup's going to be gone for obviously the 4 weeks. Addison and Ridley is likely your best 2, because Desmond Ridder isn't really doing all that much right now.
Well, it's still Arthur Smith. It's not Desmond Ridder.
No, it's a combination of Ridder and Smith. It's both. Both things can be true simultaneously. It's both. So I feel like I'm doing a podcast with a guy in like a Friday the 13th movie.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for like.
Just waiting for somebody to like sneak up behind. No, I'm good.
I wouldn't try to jump Chris Salazar. I've seen what he looks like. I've seen Chris on camera a lot. I wouldn't try. I don't want it.
Like,
I'm
good.
If there's somebody you're trying to jump, you want to jump me. Like I'm like 6'2", 180 pounds. Like I'm a perfect target. You try and get my wallet. Like I'd probably give it to you. Like I'm much more of an easy target. I wouldn't try to jump Chris Salazar. It's a bad call. Or I try to jump Jason, who's like 5'5", 80 pounds, like something like that. Like
5'9", 200 pounds. Let's be real. And I ride every day.
Oh my god!
I look like a running back. I mean, CEH and me, we're like the same thing.
Oh yeah. They get confused all the time in Kansas City. Gets confused all the time at the gas station, like every day. Like happens all the time.
I can run.
Yeah. No IR slot in that league. Boy, you guys should probably add an IR slot. Bud, you should probably talk to them about adding an IR slot. It's 2023, for God's sake. It's not the Dark Ages. You can have an IR slot. It's okay. Like, it's not a big deal. Okay, let me put it to you this way. Do you have, like, 2 tight ends, 2 quarterbacks, 2 defenses? Because if you have any of that, you probably don't need it in a 10-team league, and I'd rather have Spears than any of that. But if you're rostering 1 quarterback, 1 tight end, 1 defense, I think you start. Unless you have a really crappy running back at the end of your running back room, then maybe I'd recommend that. But yeah, I'd need to know a little bit more about how this team actually functions. But that would kind of be my my stance on the matter at the moment. So that's kind of where we are here. It is a little bit. I don't know who you're playing with, but I don't understand why they wouldn't want to benefit themselves. Like it doesn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah, I never really understood that. There's a few leagues that I'm in where people are a little bit like, oh yeah, if a guy gets injured, you just got to drop him and hope. It's like just put an IR spot. Especially during COVID, they didn't have an IR spot. I'm like, this is awful.
Yeah, that's one of the ones that I've never understood is like why you wouldn't want to do it with an IR slot, like during COVID, especially where it's like
everybody.
Come on, guys! Like you got to give me something here to work with. Like you're gonna make me just cut people randomly? Like that doesn't make any sense. Oh, here we go.
Yep. Nope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you're just stuck, man. I think that's just what it is. Like, I think you're just screwed. That's just the way it's going to be.
Try and get that number 1 waiver wire priority and hold on to that as long as you can.
Yeah, that's the other good point. I don't know if he has waiver wire priority if you play Fab.
Yeah.
In a league with no IR slots, it probably is waiver wire priority. It's probably the old school classic rules from back in the dark ages before we played with proper fab budgets and PPR and stuff. Well, he never said that wasn't a PPR league. That was the other guy who was saying it wasn't. Who was saying he played in a standard league. Yeah, he just put it in there. It's waiver wire priority. It's the old school rules. That would make sense. You're playing the old school rules from like 2009. Like there's no reason to play those rules. Yeah, full PPR. Yeah, okay. All right. Well, that's the way it is.
Still 3-0.
Yeah, game's a mess. It's the end of the first quarter. It's 3-0. The only person having a decent day is Devonta Smith. Everybody else is on the struggle bus aggressively. Well,
Swift is doing okay.
4 for 24 is not that great. It's okay.
That's what I
okay. If you got, I guess that's 80 yards. If you got 16 carries, that'd be serviceable ish.
Still not seeing
somebody's trying to trade me Swift in one of my dynasty leagues, because in this dynasty league, I joined it when they had already been 8 years in, and I was really gullible. I made some bad trades. So I think the last trade he sent me, and he tried to convince me really hard to do this, was I give him Nick Chubb and JSN for Swift, Evans, Pacheco, and a second-round pick in dynasty. And he's like, wait, they're really young players? I'm like, dude, come on. I'm not that dumb. Well, actually, never mind. I made some pretty bad trades in my life. But.
Yeah, that's I couldn't know. Don't trust Swift on a new team, and then Pacheco on a team that really doesn't run a whole lot. I'm probably good.
I've just declined. I'm like, dude, I'm not that dumb anymore, man.
Well, in Dynasty, you want to try to go with younger guys and guys that have a chance to be somebody. It depends where you are as a team in Dynasty, right? You know this, Chris. It's
yeah.
You either want to go young to try to build a nice core and build it up from the ground up, or if you're trying to win now, that's when you could start looking at the Evanses and the stuff like that. But there's just none of that seems appetizing.
He's one of the juggernaut teams, though. He has starting. I forgot his quarterbacks, but he has Aaron Jones, Derrick Henry, Austin Eckler. Those two are his other running backs that he doesn't really play as much. And then his wide receivers are Mike Evans, Keenan Allen, and then just a whole bunch of those guys in that 30-year-old range where they're still pretty good. So yeah, he just won it last year. So
so his wide receivers are getting up there. He's got decent running backs for a little while longer, but he's got a situation like that where, I can see what he's trying to do, but not it's weird to me that he wants some of the stuff he wants off your team. But I guess
I know. Yeah, I'm hey,
the second round pick ain't doing much for me.
No, especially when it's a third round pick essentially because he's gonna win. So it's
probably
not even really worth it.
And yeah, Swift is fine, but it's a whole nightmare. Oh yeah, this question. So given where we are here, I need to know how many starters you're actually going to start. But yeah, he's got no Cup. Cup's on the IR, and he can't put him on the IR slot because reasons. So you're going to play Calvin Ridley.
Yep. I'm assuming you played Addison.
You might not have, given where we are here in the background.
And then more.
It's gonna be. He's gonna play Cook and Henry because you don't really have a choice.
Yep.
I'm assuming you're gonna start 2. I'm also going to assume that you're going to start 2 wide receivers in this case.
And a flex.
Because it's not really sounds like the old school rules from back in the day. So yeah, here we go.
Nailed it.
Yeah, it's the old school rules from back in the day. Yeah, in that case, I'm sticking with London. Or if you really want to avoid, see, now knowing more, Jason, about this, you really ask. The question is really, with Addison not being played, right? Are you playing London or Elijah Moore? That's really what it boils down to, because you're not cutting any of those guys to pick up Josh Reynolds. You know his whole team at this point. There's no one to cut.
Yeah. I mean, at that, and then you just wait. You see where you're at, and determine if you want more upside or. I still just think more is safer. Unfortunately, Cooper being banged up already makes me think that he's going to be used more. So I wish I could trust Ritter and Smith to get the ball to London or Pitts. But I just can't bring myself to do that until I see it.
Yeah.
Oh, they scored.
Yeah, they did.
TJ Hawkinson, baby.
They did. Yeah. Hawkinson
New leader,
scores.
new leader in the clubhouse. Yeah.
Doo-doo.
Well, it's 13 fantasy points in PPR.
That's what you would expect if you were willing to spend a huge amount on. All the Justin Jefferson people are furious. Let's see. Drake London's there, and then yeah, I'm gonna roll the dice with London one more time. I get it. It's gonna be really hard to trust. Like, it's gonna be insanely hard to trust. Because you got a lot of markers.
Very hit or miss.
Yeah, you got a lot of markers operating against London at every level. Many of them are called Arthur Smith and Desmond Ritter. That's the problem, is that we were saying this during the preseason in 32 teams in 32 days. They're not going to throw enough to support multiple pass catching things, and whoever's going to catch the ball, such as there will be opportunities, it's probably going to rotate between London and Pitts and back and forth, but both of them are not going to have value week in and week out because they're just going to run the ball. So, I mean, I'll put it to you this way. If I thought I was going to lose this game and I couldn't deal with taking a 0, you just play Elijah Moore and you hope for the mystery box. You hope that the mystery box, which could be anything, gives you a good number, because it could even be a boat. You know how much we've been wanting one of those. That's Elijah Moore. It could be anything. But if you're terrified of Drake London,
he was used in the rushing game.
If you're terrified of Drake London, I can't say I blame you. If you're asking me my personal opinion, I'd probably just roll the dice with London for another week and see if I could get something to click. But if you're terrified of it and you don't want to go 0-2 and you want London to prove it to you, put him on the bench and play more. But I'm telling you, you're going to have this problem every single week. Every single week, you're going to be staring this down, given how your team actually works, until Cooper Kupp comes back, and then you can get out of this particular lovely little conundrum, because then you'll play Kupp and Ridley, and then your team is just unfortunate because you have Kupp and Jonathan Taylor, so you lost your two of your best players. We shouldn't be having this conversation right now. To be perfectly honest about it. For real. No, you wouldn't even be having this conversation. Yeah. You shouldn't be having this conversation because you would play Kupp and Ridley, and then you play Taylor and Henry, probably more than likely, because it's week 1. You know what you've seen, and then you're having a conversation about flex that would involve Cook, London, Addison, Moore. And at that point, you'd be fine putting London on the bench, and I'd probably just roll Cook. Because Cook's running 70% of the snaps when they're on offense. And if you're going to get, by usage alone, anybody who gets 70% of the snaps as a running back, by usage alone, typically is on pace to be a top 12 running back. It's been my argument all year, and will continue to be my argument until he stops getting 70% of the snaps. It was a bad matchup last week. And he still had 10 points. Like, I don't know what you want. And if you felt like you needed upside and you didn't want to play Cook, fine, play Addison. And you could avoid the whole London conundrum. But that's not your life right now. So I stand by my analysis, which would be, I'd probably personally still roll the dice with London one more time, but if you're terrified of it and you want London to prove it to you, put him on the bench and play more. It's not that crazy. You're talking about, It's a little crazy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 spots in my wide receiver rankings for this week is what you're actually discussing. So if you're terrified of Arthur Smith in London and you don't want to deal with it anymore, I just put him in. Anyway, Jason, since we're talking about wide receivers, do your wide receiver start sit of the week.
All right, the start is Zay Jones versus Kansas City Chiefs. I think it's a high-scoring game, good over/under. Ridley's clearly the guy, but Jones is on the opposite side with Kirk and Ingram being thrown into the slot and rotating. Just seems like that he's clearly the wide receiver too with how they lined up last week. He was the one who saw more snaps, was out there more often, and in a game that they are going to have to likely keep up, I would expect him to have a good week this week. Surprised he's not in the top 36.
You're welcome, bud. See you next week. I can't say I'm super surprised. Well, I guess given how the end of the 36 wraps up, it does get kind of ugly in the background. It's an interesting list of names this week.
A smidge.
Yeah, because I have a couple. I have two. One would be Nico Collins, which we already referenced when people were asking questions earlier, and largely not because I actually think Nico Collins is even good. I'm pretty adamant about that, but it's volume. Volume is king, and that game's going to be a disaster. And I think he could easily get 10 targets in said game, and they're going to be ugly as hell. But 10 targets is 10 targets. So I'll take my 10 targets. And if you want one that's not as much of a cop-out, I'll give you one that's not as much of a cop-out. I'll give you two quickly, actually. One is Treylon Burks if DeAndre Hopkins is hurt and cannot play. Because then he's going to get all the lovely targets. Because he actually returned to practice this week. And then let's go. We can dig deeper. We'll go to the next dream level. And I already talked about this a little bit earlier. It's Rashid Shaheed.
Oh.
If I was in a league where I thought I was going to get blown out, I would just play Rashid Shaheed in the flex. It's poor man's Tyler Lockett. It's Tyler Lockett from when Tyler Lockett was a lot younger, and if you squint, you can kind of see what's going on. He's even faster than young Tyler Lockett. It's nuts. Chris, you want to play our dumb little game?
Yeah, sure.
So you got to pick somebody that's outside the top 36, and I understand that you don't really have your computer in front of you, so I can try to help you with this.
I did
start.
mention somebody earlier. I mentioned somebody earlier. I don't know if he is. I said Tutu Atwell. Is he inside or outside?
Oh God, no, he's nowhere near the.
Okay, then he's him because I just saw the report that Puka Nacua did miss practice.
Yes.
And I think he has like an injury or whatever. So that's somebody who, like, I picked him up right away in any league that I found reasonable enough to pick him up where I could kind of throw him in there because, I mean, it was just really him and Puka that's last week. And Van Jefferson kind of had a role. I'm glad he didn't because in my big money league, the other guy was playing him and he didn't really do much. So I'm glad the other two kind of ate. But if there's no Nacua in that lineup, it's pretty much just Van Jefferson, Tyler Higbee, and Tutu Atwell. And Matthew Stafford seemed to trust Tutu Atwell a little bit more than he has. So that's a guy that I was kind of looking at right away. Like, oh, he's still in the waiver wire. He's kind of still out there lingering. So why not pick him up, give him an opportunity? He seemed to be a little bit more than just that deep threat. Obviously, he had that big catch, had a few big catches, but he just seemed like a guy who is going to get open with his speed and pretty much his speed alone. So why not pick him up, try and put him on your flex, see if he can, get a touchdown in there, maybe reach kind of near that 100 because he had over 100 yards. So, yeah.
He did. That's a deep cut, but it is an interesting one. If you're playing in a deep league, I like it. If you play in a 12 team with deep benches, like I play in a couple like that, that's a good call because he'd be widely available, and it's always hard to find good help when you're down that low. And Polo, I agree with you. This game is stupid. This game is dumb, and you should be hanging out, listening to us prattle on like ninnies, rather than watch this game because it's just a disaster. This game is schlock at the highest order. It's really bad. So far, we're very right about not playing Madison and Addison and things like that because they haven't done jack. And DeAndre Swift's now 9 carries on 46 yards, largely because the Vikings just refuse to tackle. It's not even like he's doing anything particularly special. They
were pretty good last
just,
week against Jamal Williams, and I don't know what's happening now.
That's what I mean. It's just something's going on in this game tonight that doesn't make any sense. Jason, who's your wide receiver sit of the week?
Cortland Sutton versus the Washington Commanders.
That's such a cop-out.
I had to, man.
What a cop-out.
The fact that he was even on there, I'm like, I have to do this.
Boo! Try harder.
All right.
This
fine.
is so low effort. Jerry Judy's coming back this week, and Russell Wilson still looks like crap. There, did I do it for you? Did I do it? Did I do the thing?
Washington also has a decent defense.
Boo! Boo! In fact, go to the penalty box. He goes to the penalty box for that take. He's going to go sit in timeout for a little while. Welcome back from the penalty box for that take. You got sent to the penalty box for 30 seconds. That is ridiculous. Like, that is such a.
Well, it was. I mean, I feel like once you get to that area, I don't really want to trust any of them. Corton, he's 32 wide receiver 32 right now in the rankings. Don't understand that. The other person that
what's not to understand about it?
Well, the fact that he's ranked in the top 36. I was like, this has to be fixed. We have to get him out of there.
Sir.
The other option would be
Sir.
Pittman. Because again,
that was the most nonsensical. I apologize to the listening audience. That was the most nonsensical thing. Have we taken our medicine? Have we gone and taken our crazy pills?
Well, you wanted me to fix it. You said I copped out the early time, so I went.
Not by going. I almost said a Tropic Thunder thing that I can't say anymore. I can't say that. I have to stop myself. I've already almost said a couple things in this show that would get us taken off YouTube. It's gonna happen. He keeps going. What part of? What was so? Okay, so you just hate the volume and the usage and the huge point total that Michael Pittman put up last week.
It was a big screen that saved his day for the touchdown. Yeah.
Do you want to hear? Do you want to hear what I have one that I kind of thought about in my head that kind of makes sense if you think about it. After last week, you may not. I hope I don't get penalty box for this one because there's some logic behind it.
No, I only penalty box Jason because Jason's a habitual line stepper.
And himself.
Yeah, I also penalty box myself because if I'm going to penalty box other people, then I have to be willing to do it to myself.
So this one, my logic behind it is that usually somebody gets taken out of the game in this matchup, and I'm going to go with Tyreek Hill. I think that Tyreek Hill usually gets phased out of the game, and now this is the only thing that's going to kind of hinder this is that Jonathan Jones did end up on the injury report, and not saying that Jonathan Jones is like kryptonite to Tyreek Hill.
But he has done that in the past.
The Feds took Chris Salazar down. He said something about Tyreek Hill, and the federal government just shut it down. Like, oh, he's back. Okay.
All
right. One who's wide receiver 1.
I thought the Feds got him. He's talking about Tyreek Hill, and the federal government's like, no, shut it down. Shut his internet down. Can't have this. It's too hot for YouTube. Can't have this conversation.
Boy, but no, yeah, I think that Jalen Waddle had a pretty good game against the Patriots. I think it was last year he had that really long touchdown, and it's pretty much simple. It's gonna be shadow coverage to one guy, the other guy's gonna get the best cornerback matchup possible. And besides that, who's really gonna kill the Patriots? I'm not really worried about. I don't even know his name is just so funny that I was just the dude that played tight end for the Dolphins. He caught the touchdown.
Durham Smythe.
Durham Smythe, and then there was the other dude, number 81.
Oh, Cry.
Yeah, that guy. I was like, okay, you know what? If they end up scoring 2 touchdowns against us, then so be it. But Tyreek Hill, I feel like, is going to get that shadow coverage that he usually does get, and maybe he gets a big gain here and there, but usually Bill Belichick likes to not have to worry about him. And then who knows? Christian Gonzalez had a really good game last week against A.J. Brown. He was kind of following him around and, stopping that. So we'll see. And not to say that Christian Gonzalez can stop, Jalen Waddle, because that's a little bit more of a speed threat. But I'd like to see – I don't think Tyreek Hill is going to have anywhere near that game, and he might have a pretty pedestrian game against the Patriots because it's pretty much hit or miss.
I appreciate the take and the detailed analysis with the matchups and the nuance. The problem is this. This is why I'm not penalty boxing you, actually. That is just not helpful because he's rated as the wide receiver 1, and no one will ever bench Tyreek Hill ever. Ever. There's no universe where you could ever talk anyone into that. So it's just not going to happen. So now I'm going back to Jason.
I forgot it was the bench. The bench.
Yeah. So now I'm going back to Jason. Jason, Michael Pittman had 11 targets. He caught 8 of them. He had 97 total yards. I acknowledge that 40 of them was on one screen. His average depth of target was 12 yards, sir. 12 yards. You're out of your mind. You've lost your damn mind. In a matchup against the shitty Texans, the shitty Texans, there's no universe where you're going to bench Michael Pittman, who's a wide receiver 2 this week. Like, the Cortland Sutton thing is ridiculous, but I penalty boxed you for that mostly for comedic effect. The Michael Pittman one is because you've outraged me. Like, you've genuinely outraged me. In fact, I'm penalty boxing you again. You're going back to the penalty box. Like, my God, man. Like,
I have one that I think would actually kind of make sense for this. And I'm pretty sure I think the matchup, Monday night, Pickens.
Nope.
Yep.
The Feds got him. The Feds got him again.
I agree because Pickens is an issue.
I heard him say Pickens. Wow, yeah. The Feds did get him. He's literally gone.
But yeah, Pickens, it makes sense. Tough coverage. The fact that I don't think that he's going to be the one who actually replaces Johnson with the targets. Don't love the matchup for him. Also, the fact that I would expect him to use Calvin Austin and Allen Robinson. Sorry, should make sure that people know who I'm talking about.
Right.
As the guys who play the slot, as well as Freiermuth, who should likely catch the touchdown. So
it's looking like he's going to play too. Actually, it's a scary thing with the chest injury with Freiermuth, but he practiced today, so that's good. You stepped away before the Feds shut down Chris Salazar's internet connection for trying to give takes that were just too spicy for the internet. He did have an interesting start, which was Tutu Atwell, and I appreciate him digging deep. That's a deep cut, and I give him credit for being willing to go that far down the.
Puka having the injury, and that makes sense.
Oh, he's back.
Sorry, I'm using my phone, so if I get a phone call,
no, Starlink. We don't talk about reality. It's Starlink. Elon Musk cut his internet because he's got Starlink, and he was trying to help the Ukrainians. Yeah. That's right.
So this will be my last one. Then I kind of got to go. But I will say George Pickens is I know what's his face, Deontay Johnson is probably, I think he's out for a few weeks. So George Pickens
is doubtful. You can't IR him. It's super annoying.
Yeah, that's
so. I'm
one of my leagues actually was able to sleeper. They have the thing like IR if doubtful. So
okay,
got that. Okay. But I think George Pickens is a guy that people are going to say, oh yeah, he's going to get fed a lot of targets. Deontay Johnson wasn't there, but Cleveland's defense. I don't know. I usually try and pick them up in fantasy just because of the pass rushing. But also, I mean, Denzel Ward is out there. I love Denzel Ward. He's probably one of my favorite cornerbacks.
Denzel Ward is
he'll likely
be player.
He will be on the outside likely with George Pickens. So that's a guy who I'd probably say maybe shade away from starting him just because no Deontay Johnson. I mean, you got Allen Robinson there in the slot, and maybe he goes outside a little bit more with Deontay Johnson out there. But there's a few guys who could probably step up a little bit more, but I just don't like the matchup of Ward against Pickens. That's just me personally, but I'll leave you guys with that. Thank you for having me on, and I'll join whenever I'm free.
Hey, no problem, Chris. Welcome anytime, man. You have a good one, buddy.
You as well.
Too funny.
No, I don't disagree with some of that. Fading Pickens isn't the craziest thing I've heard because it's a even with Deontay being out, it is a little bit of a scary thing, and he's only wide receiver 30 for me. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like you're talking.
Wow,
it's not like
you have him at the same spot.
It's not like you're talking about fading to wide receiver 2, like somebody I know that might get penalty boxed again. As far as sits go, I had a couple that we haven't even gotten into yet. Cheating would be DeAndre Hopkins, by the way, because I don't think he's actually going to play, so we won't cheat.
But if he does play, I'm probably playing him.
Yeah, you're probably not. You probably have to, unfortunately. Mine is actually Christian Kirk. Terrified about Christian Kirk. We talked about this in 32 teams in 32 days in the preseason and through small sample, but through one game, some of my fears are being realized, which is if he's just going to play the slot and with the additional weapons they have, that is not going to return. If you drafted him at his ADP, you're going to be sad because he's not going to return the value he had last year. A non-cheating one, because that's a little Cortland Sutton-y of me to pick near the bottom of the totem pole. I'll pick a little higher, and it's actually
Are you gonna cheat? Are you gonna make it easy too with Debo?
no.
Oh.
No, I'm
coin
gonna
flip,
save,
baby.
I'm gonna save my Brandon Ayuk victory laps for when people like Mike Berland are here. That's what I'm saving those for when Mike Berland is here, and I'm probably gonna like buy a Brandon Ayuk jersey and like wear it just to taunt him. Like I don't normally buy jerseys, but I really kind of want to taunt him at an incredible level. No, mine was actually going to be from like a wide receiver 2 standpoint, it was actually going to be DJ Moore. Largely because I'm just terrified of the Bears everything.
That the whole thing over there.
They should just be embarrassed by that whole game. And you don't really want to overreact to one game, but benching DJ Moore until they figure out who they want to be when they grow up, that might not be the worst idea anybody's ever had in their life. So I could totally see a world where if you got a couple comparable wide receivers, I could totally see benching DJ Moore in the background. And I could also, as much as it hurts my heart, and it does, I could also see benching Terry McLaurin this week to avoid the Surtain matchup. I could see doing it. If you were afraid of anything, it would be Patrick Surtain. Because Patrick Surtain, for those who don't know who that is, he's good.
He's the guy who covered Adams last week.
He's good.
Held the 2 targets.
He's good.
Yeah.
He's a top 5 corner in the NFL. That's just the facts. That's just how it is. Like that dude is really, 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 really good at football. And Terry McLaurin's already dealing with turf toe. And I normally don't recommend benching Terry McLaurin because it only takes one. But
also, I'm real high on Dotson this week.
Don't like that matchup at all. I'm not super high on anything Commanders related except for Brian Robinson. I'm high on that. So I'm high on Brian Robinson. I'm not really high on the rest of it. Don't really like the Logan Thomas stuff. You got to prove that to me. By the way, hey Jason, check it out. Soaring Eagle is back. Cubs logo and all.
Golly.
I'll do my best. I'll do my best, Soaring Eagle. I'll do my best, man. We need Knee Wallace Bruce for this. IDP question. Harold Landry to linebacker. Alex to the bench and start Montez Sweat at DL. Other choices. Cameron Jordan. D. Brown. Oof, boy, you have some good choices. Bobby Wagner. I like your choices. Jeez. Okay, Jason, do me a favor. Type this into the IDP channel while I continue to talk. Let's see if we can get Knee Wallace Bruce.
He wouldn't answer me earlier, so
he'll answer before Sunday. I'll make it happen. Like, if we can't get an answer in real time, we will send you a note here. Polo makes a good point. This is why, like, I'm admittedly not an IDP expert. I make no bones about this. Like, I'm an expert in Dynasty, redraft, half point, no point, best ball. I can answer your questions. You start asking me about IDP, my knowledge is very narrow. Like, I can answer certain questions. This might be outside of my wheelhouse. Typically, I would tell you that I go best available, and to me, best available would be Montez Sweat. So I'd probably be leaning towards playing Montez Sweat, but I would field this question to our guy in our Discord, Knee Wallace Bruce, who runs our IDP channel, and see if we can get him to weigh in on this, and then we'll feed you a note back. Sorry, Nico. By the way, welcome back. I didn't hear from you last week. It's It's a pleasure to have you back. Also, to
Oh.
make it more complicated, you can add Quincy Williams to this list of questions, and we'll get you a note back on this. Because I if you're asking me my opinion, and I'll give you an answer.
Come back Sunday morning.
I would come back Sunday morning, but also I would start Montez Sweat. If I got to make my decisions right now, that's what I would do. But yeah, that's an interesting question. We don't get many IDP questions, just generally speaking. And Jason, because we are about to we've hit actually the 2-minute warning here, so we are getting close to time for this evening, and I appreciate everybody coming and spending their evening with us and being bored to tears, except for the part about Philip Rivers in the delivery room. That was comedic gold. Jason, if you're chopping this up into shorts, that's the only short that you need to do. It's just all the stupid crap about that. That's the rest of this is just schlock. The only person who's enjoying this is Polo, and I appreciate him for it. But everybody else is bored to tears. All the Philip Rivers delivery room stuff is gold. Chop that up if you're going to put this into shorts. Don't waste your time with the rest of it. The rest of it was boring. But the Philip Rivers in the delivery room is wall hanger.
A tangent we had to go on.
That was the good stuff. The rest of it is just it's boring. The only other,
and the world agrees, FYI.
Oh yeah. Look, dude, I follow our audience engagement. When we were doing we get the real-time analytics. When we were doing the Philip Rivers nonsense, it was going like this. And then we started doing the show and it went like this. And it's like, and that's how this works. It's because nobody actually cares about this show. They just like it when we vamp and act like morons in the background. That's what does it for these people. It's talking about opening the strip club at a Buc-ee's. It's talking about Philip Rivers at the delivery room. It's all that crap. They just want a stand-up comedy routine for an hour, answer some questions at the beginning and the end, and then go home. Honestly, that's the formula for this show. It's worked for 3 years. It's why we keep doing it. Here you go. This will help me.
Okay.
And then we're gonna do tight end start sit of the week. And then we're gonna let everybody enjoy halftime, catch their breath, and then enjoy the second half of Thursday Night Football to the extent that it's possible to enjoy this stupid game. Because I agree with you, Polo. This game has been super weird, and it's actually, I have a different word than weird. It's been terrible, like genuinely terrible, as Thursday night games frequently are. Hashtag end Thursday Night Football. Hashtag screw you, Bezos. There you go. Get those trending on Twitter for me. Help me out with that. As far as my tight end start of the week, sorry, a light just literally flicked on and off in my house, and I had to make sure that The Exorcist wasn't coming around the corner.
Oh, did you see that? That's another good one that's coming.
The Exorcist remake?
Yeah.
Oh, God, we'll have to do a whole separate show on that. It's going to drag us out for an hour. Stop remaking movies I love. Although that one might actually be okay because of some of the people that are involved in it. They might do it justice. We'll see.
I know. I couldn't even make it through Evil Dead Riot.
Yeah. My tight end start of the week, while you're still typing over there, is going to be Juwan Johnson on Monday night. I know they're talking about the hamstring. Don't worry about the hamstring. He's playing. He had a really nice game. He played better than what it reflects as in the box score. Okay. So kind of a weird game, but as I've already talked about, I'm going in with the Saints here against a crappy Carolina secondary in the background. So Juwan would be my start, and if you want a deep cut, I will give you a deep cut, and it's admittedly a very, very deep cut, and it would be going back to the well with Dalton Schultz. Now I know it was god awful. It was terrible. He had 4 targets. He only caught 2 of them. It was god awful. Here's why I'm saying what I'm saying. 2 reasons. 1, the Colts are like 30th out of 32 against the tight end. That's 1. 2, Dalton Schultz was top 5 amongst tight ends last week in route participation. He ran a route on 91% of their offensive snaps. So he ain't blocking at all. He's running them routes. So he had a bad week. I acknowledge it. It was terrible. I started him in a couple leagues. I won, Thank God. So it didn't kill me, but it might have. A 2 hurts. I get it. It feels bad. So that's why I'm saying I would prefer to go with Jawan because I feel better about this. But if I had to go down the ladder, I'd take a look at Dalton Schultz because look, it wasn't as bad as the 2 leads you to believe. You would think if he had a 2 that it was like really, really god awful. It wasn't as bad. It was really bad to get it. It feels bad to get a 2, but it wasn't as bad as it could have been. Jason, who's your starter?
Hayden Hurst versus the Saints. Hayden Hurst versus the Saints.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Really, the only target. Surprised he's not top 12. Granted, the Saints are really good against tight ends, which is what's kind of why I think everybody has them so low. But when you're seeing double-digit targets, and you're close to the line of scrimmage, and you're not throwing it to Miles Sanders, he seems like the best option for you as that safety blanket, especially for Bryce Young. So
can't disagree with any of that. And then who's your sit?
Kyle Pitts.
Yeah, I can't disagree with that either.
Because I keep talking about it.
I can't disagree with any of that.
It's between London and it's Pitts, and I don't know if they're going to throw enough, who's going to run it. It's an easy matchup. They could run it and just win that way because they had success last week and only threw the ball, 18 times?
Yeah.
You don't want any of that.
You really don't want any of that.
Doesn't matter how talented you are. You have to, I guess, if Devontae Smith did it, 2 for 60 is really what you're hoping for, and maybe a touchdown. If he can get that, I'd be amazed.
For me, it would actually be wow. What a disaster this game is. What a disaster. This whole game is my nightmare. Can we end this game now? Can we just call it Eagles win 10-7 and don't play the second half? I'm fine with that. I hate Thursday night football. It's so bad. We have to leave here soon, so I can't go on my I hate Thursday night football rant. It's too long. So I have just wasting Eagles starts and Vikings fantasy starts by making people subject to this. My sit would be, Kyle Pitts is a good one. Mine would be Sam Laporta. Mostly because, look, one cute little game is not enough for me to suddenly vault him into real starter territory. He only had 5 targets. He caught all 5 of them, which is cool. That's cool. You ain't going to catch all 5 of those every week, and 5 targets is not that great. He only turned that into 40 yards. He's only had a 9. Okay, he had a decent game.
It wasn't higher scoring either.
You want to know what I would rather do? Much rather do, in fact. I'd go pick up Hunter Henry, who is still widely available, and just start Hunter Henry. That's the real answer to a lot of this. Is if you're looking for a streamer for this week, the number 1 tight end streamer should be Hunter Henry, and then we see where it goes from there. I don't know if I want to roster Hunter Henry every week, but if I needed a tight end to pick up and play this week and I wasn't happy with the guys on my team, go pick up Hunter Henry. He's still widely available, and he shouldn't be. Not for this week, at least. So if I was dealing with staring down starting Sam Laporta, for example, or if I needed a Freiermuth replacement if I'm wrong and he actually isn't going to play, that's who I'm looking at, is Hunter Henry. So seems pretty transactional. Well, Jason, I tell you what, man, we're about to hit halftime here. I hate this game. It is terrible, and just really, really terrible. And I'm gonna go open a beer and just enjoy halftime to the extent that that's humanly possible. What are your final thoughts here for this evening before we hit the weekend?
Well, one, should be in the Discord. You guys are missing out on so much fun. That's the big one for me.
It has been a very busy week in that Discord. A lot of questions, a lot of start-sit questions. So yeah, The
Trade
link
questions, all that good stuff.
Link is in the video description. Check us out at importantnonsense.com. Sign up. We have multiple different levels. It's very cost effective. Keep Jason company. Keep me company. Hang out in the Discord with us. We're available. Plus the rest of our staff, who we're trying to get more involved over here. You saw Chris Salazar calling from the set of Friday the 13-5. So we wish him luck, and hopefully he's able to join us again in the future. Chris is from our Dynasty team. He does really good work over there. So if you have Dynasty questions, he's usually a resource to answer them. Him and Ben Strauss, who've been doing this for a long time. Same with me. Mike Manning will answer them for you.
Trade questions.
Mike Berlin's been a superstar who is on here periodically with us and was helping us with 32 teams in 32 days. Mike Manning, who will be making more appearances in the future, is also a good resource for asking questions. PFF Zone, Mike Manning, I should say, to give him his full title. So we have no shortage of people to answer questions and hang out and deal with us in the background. We're happy to have people keeping us company here in the background. So,
and a big guest next week. I'm excited.
And then we will actually be on Sunday, as I promised last week. I apologize for that. I actually got sick, so I apologize. I was literally dead in bed. I took some Benadryl and I slept through my alarm, and I'm sorry. I'm sorry to America. I'm sorry to you, Jason. I'm sorry to my agent. I literally I woke up and my sinuses were completely blocked. So I woke up with plenty of time. I took some Benadryl and I laid down and I just slept clean through that alarm. I mean, I woke up at 8 a.m., took Benadryl at 8:15, laid down, set an alarm for 9. I woke up at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Like, I slept through my alarm. And I'm just I still felt like crap. And I literally hate that stuff. It always knocks me down, and I know it. But I couldn't think of anything else to do because I couldn't even think. My brain wouldn't work. It was just one of those things. So I apologize. Won't happen again. At least they're very low probability. So we will be back on Sunday. Well, Jason will be. I may be lurking in the background and putting him in the penalty box just to spite him. But Jason will be back on Sunday on here to answer your questions right before kickoff. Something we plan to do a lot more of as the season trundles along here. But until that happens, tune in tomorrow for Locked In with Mason and Vishal. Get all your degenerate gambling picks that you could ever need for the weekend. And try to enjoy the second half of this game, as statistically unlikely as that may be. And with that, we will talk to you on Sunday. But until then, keep up the nonsense.